Hi, and welcome to another episode of Stories Worth Hearing. I'm your host, Jonathan Quick, and today we have a very special guest, Jonathan Roberts, with us. He is with the Elliott Group, and we get a little peek behind the curtain of his own life story, what it's like working with and for Andy Elliott, and maybe some advice he'd give to folks in the sales or entrepreneur space. So without further ado, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you.
Well, this would be fun. I ran across a post that Andy Elliott did, I don't know, maybe a week or so ago, and I went down like a 2-minute rabbit hole of looking at some of your stuff, and I thought, man, this guy would be really fun to chat with. So I appreciate you getting back to me, and this will be fun to kind of hear your story. And I think for folks, anything Andy Elliott does, as we were talking about, seems like viral these days. So I'm sure there'll be folks really interested to hear a little bit more about you and a little bit more about his story as well as it relates to you. So my first question is this, Jonathan, what was your life like before sales? I mean, for folks listening in, we'll get into kind of what Jonathan does later on, but I just love to hear your story. Like, what was your life like before you got into sales?
Yeah. So, I don't know if you'd ever say a typical or standard life, but, barely made it through high school, struggled through that, just kind of got just good enough grades not to get kicked out. I didn't really know what I wanted, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So ended up joining the military, spent 7 years, 10 months in the Army, got married right out of high school, got a beautiful wife, 2 young daughters. Well, not young anymore, 15 and 11, might be young, middle-aged, teenagers, becoming teenagers. But yeah, it was kind of just, I guess you would say, typical, being in the military, learned a lot with discipline and stuff, but really you're just able to live a pretty good life. Bills were paid, food was put on the table, nothing too freaking crazy. And then I just, got into a point when I was separating from the military that I had a lot of big dreams, had a lot of big goals, and that's kind of what led into sales.
Nice. What was there a moment or maybe a hardest season of your life before you really started to think about what you want to do next with your life? Like, was there some pivotal moments that, when you got out of the Army thinking like, crap, I gotta, start a new career. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I would say it was so the pivotal moment actually isn't starting the new career. Being in the military, you move around quite a bit. There's a lot of uncertainty. Yes, I guess income wise, the paycheck is pretty certain. So that's kind of nice. But we were used to moving around. We were used to, meet new people. So transitioning from the military to sales wasn't the most difficult thing. And I actually had a plan to get into law enforcement, but that could take 6 months to a year. So jumping into sales was kind of like a side plan, keep food on the table and just make it happen. Law enforcement thing didn't work out. So I was actually doing pretty well in sales. I actually enjoyed talking to people a heck of a lot more than I thought I would. So I kind of naturally flew into it. I wasn't great, but I was decent. But what had happened is through sales, I started to make a little bit more money than truly I ever thought I was allowed to make. The pivotal moment to me came when I realized that I was like 100% focused on making money. And I was losing who I was as a husband. I was losing who I was as a father. And that's when really life shifted and I had to view things from a different lens of, hey, it's not just about going out and getting rich, paying off the Amex card, all of that crap of like, I really want to build an empire. I really want to build a dream and just focusing on, hey, making more money, closing more deals, selling more cars, selling more houses, whatever I was doing at the time wasn't the way to get there. It was really I had to connect with myself again to then be able to connect with my wife, to be able to connect with my kids again, get us all online and then get to the point where it's like, okay, what do you really want to do? And what I love doing from, in the military, what I loved doing was I loved training soldiers. I loved being out there. I loved, giving people, essentially there, you're potentially training them where it could be life or death. So there's a little bit on the line there, but sales was the same thing for me early on. I did well. I got a sales management quickly, got into an executive position quickly. And I got really good at, showing young men and women how to make 100 grand, 150, 200 grand a year. But what I realized is I wasn't changing anyone's life. Teaching them to drink fancier tequilas, drive a fancier car, have a fancier house. Like, yeah, you're making an extra 50K a year, but you're still broke at the end of the month. So it was because that's essentially the same life I was living. So when I got to the point where I'm like, dude, you got to make some freaking changes and you've got to become a better version of yourself. Like that's kind of when everything changed. Found, God was a big part of growing up, or who I've become recently, and just living in a position where, you're going to be stressed no matter what you do in life. You're going to be stressed that you're not doing enough. Or you're going to be stressed that you're doing too much. So when you just say, hey, if I can focus 100% on my mission and what I'm going to do every day, like, it doesn't feel like stress. It just feels like you're putting in the work, and you're getting closer to your future. So hopefully that answered that.
That's great. Yeah, I think there's lots of guys and probably gals out there that, um, they're making decent money, but I think at the end of the day, it may still feel like it's empty, or you're on your own, or you're by yourself, and so talk to me a little bit about what that was like for you to go from, okay, by the world standards, you're making good money, you're training people, but you didn't have that tribe yet. Maybe you hadn't connected with the Elliott folks yet. Tell me what that looked like for you to go from, doing well to finding a group of people that also kind of thought like you and wanted to,
Yes.
be in this with you as family, kind of.
No, and that's exactly what's really gotten me here. And that's a really good question, is you put yourself in this place where you're doing everything you think you're supposed to do, based on society's norms. You're making money, you're paying bills, you're supporting the family, you're going on vacation once a year. You're checking all the blocks. But realistically, I found myself like not even present in my own life. I found myself, I mean, I was working for people who give you an opportunity to grow. And I'm very, very thankful for that. I'm very thankful that, they were able to help me learn to make money, help me, learn a lot of confidence, help me learn to sell. Like, very, very grateful. But at the same time, in some of the industries, if you're not, producing at a high level, and maybe you have a bad month or two, guess what? You're just a number on the board. Get out of here, move on. We'll find the next one. And you're consistently like chasing this high level of stress, high level of performance. And if you were to die the next day, they're going to replace you in, 48 hours. You're not even going to be a blimp on that. So for me, I realized that I was giving my whole life away for just a paycheck. Now, I still believe as a man, like, you should earn a good paycheck. You should be able to take care of your family. You should be able to prosper. You should be able to continue to grow as yourself. So I'm not saying money's not important, because it definitely does help in life, but it's definitely not even on the top 10 of what you should be focusing on. So I remember my first time I'd ever booked a one-on-one with Andy. I came out to one of his events, loved everything he said. I'm thinking I'm going to go blow up my dealership. I'm going to go learn how to be the best salesperson in the world. And basically for 8 straight hours, I'm sitting at his event, and all I heard is, you know what to do. You're not doing it. Quit being a little bitch. And I needed that message at that time. Like, hey, dude, I'm in Phoenix too now. I know you guys just moved here. Like, how can I come sit down with you? And a few days later, came out to his office, sat down with him for a couple hours. And I'm thinking we're going to learn sales skills, processes, how to lead a team, how to train my guys better, like all of that. The first thing he does is he looks me up and down and he says, well, I could tell you work out, but you're kind of effing fat. I'm like, well, that's a good way to build rapport, dude. I, thought in sales, you be nice to people at first. And I remember the 2 hours, like, leaving kind of confused, because we talked about my alcoholism. We talked about my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids. We talked about, being fat. We talked about everything except sales. And I kind of tried to fight it for like a week or two, of like, what the heck did I just do? That was a complete waste of my time. And then I realized, like, that's actually who I want to be. And I've just been blinded by chasing money. That I've completely lost who I was as a man. I wasn't happy who I saw in the mirror. I wasn't, like, I was confident behind my paycheck. When my paycheck came in, I thought I was on top of the freaking world. But any other time in life, I wasn't confident, when we were going out. I would be drinking just so I could have a conversation with people, because that's the only way I knew how to do it. When I would go to the gym, it would be half effort. So like, I'm just going through the motions, and I'm going through the motions of everything in life, because I'm too tired, I'm too burnt out, I'm too this, I'm too that. And really what it was is I was just too, you could say, scared to confront myself of what I really wanted to do. And I had just gotten sucked into a money tree that's all that freaking mattered to me. And being able to like join the Elliott Group, where, I mean, we do well. We have some very high earners, very high performers. I'm one of them, but that's not what matters. I have never, if you look at the core values on our wall, the first one being trust in God, and then everything else below that, there's not a single one that talks about revenue. There's not a single one that talks about profit or any of that. I have been with Andy for coming up on 5 years now. I have never heard him or Jacqueline rip into someone for, not hitting their goals. Now I've heard them rip into someone for being shitty to their wife. I've heard them ripping into someone for being crappy to another teammate and coaching through that. But I've never had them focus on the financial goals because as man or woman, we're not, yes, like I said, I think you do have some sort of obligation to provide for your family financially. It's part of just protection in today's world. But that's not that's not what the focus is, and too many people get so focused on that they get lost in it. And it's like Andy says, if you want to make more money, quit chasing the money and start chasing the man that can do it. You've got to become someone different. You've got to have a different belief system. You've got to have, different values. And for me to get to another financial level in my life, it was like, dude, I had to go connect with my wife again. I had to go connect with my kids again. I had to go connect with the things that actually motivate me. Because the brand new car every 6 months, yeah, it was cool for 2 days until I realized I had to put gas in it, insurance, and I had 4 doors and 4 tires. Like it was the same thing. It sounded cooler, but then you get used to it, and you can only buy so much dopamine. And if you're continuously just trying to buy those dopamine hits from different sources, you get to the point where one, you don't have enough money to keep up with your dopamine, but two, you never get that serotonin release of like real trust, real love that you could get with like building real relationships with people. So transitioning to the Elliott Group, I mean, that's what it was. The one thing I lost when I left the military was that brotherhood, was that connection, was that like, dude, we're training that we could potentially go to war with someone. And it's really hard to find that level of relationship with anybody because it doesn't exist in, the normal world. But jumping over to the Elliott Group, and we treat each other as family within the office. We treat our clients as family. And it was being able to create those relationships again, and then being able to, help others find it because we're all lost to a certain degree. And it sucks. Andy was a huge part of helping me get closer to myself, helping me get closer to my family, get closer to God, get closer to everything that I've wanted to do. And, now I'm grateful for the last 4.5 years been with him. I've been able to help and be there for thousands of people. And just at the same time, be a positive voice in a world that's, not always so positive.
So what in it made you, because you could have just kind of got this knowledge, used it for yourself, become a great husband and father and, great salesperson and just gone and done your own thing one off. What made you want to then help other people duplicate this? Because that's a whole nother skill set of just, okay, I got it. Great. I'm going to be a good person, a good father, a good husband, make good money, be well-rounded. And most people would just take that and do that for themselves and then be fine. What made you want to help other people do the same?
Well, for me, it was Andy being there for me when I needed it and telling me what I needed to hear and not what I wanted to hear. So I have a lot of loyalty to him and Jacqueline. Uh, and the other part of it, I'll just be real with you. I've ran real estate teams. I've ran dealerships. If I were to go out on my own, I know I'd be successful. I know I could do a great job. Honestly, Andy and Jackie take care of us great. We've got a great team. We've got a great group of people that I can count on, that if I need some help, that I need some support, like I don't have to go look outside into the world too often. But we've got this really good just team built. And I truly believe that like the team is unstoppable. A solo individual is only going to go so far. So as long as, they take care of me and they stay true to their word, I don't ever plan on leaving them. And I've ran teams before. I've had to pay payroll tax. I've had to go through all that crap. And honestly, the entrepreneur is just so much easier for me. And really, they give us a lot of freedom. I mean, technically, I'm sitting at my home studio right now. I'm not in the office. I was like, hey, I got better audio here. It's not as freaking loud. Let's go do that. I don't have to ask for time off. Like if I want to go take a vacation, I can go anytime. I'm technically a contractor. So they truly treat us as an employee or as an entrepreneur. I could go do whatever I want. As long as I stay within the core values of the company, I could go get on a podcast like this, go book my own speaking engagements. I could sell what our company offers. So I do have the freedom to be an entrepreneur to a certain degree, but I also have the team where being an entrepreneur, I'm able to really become more powerful in myself because let's just be real. Andy's got a big name. I mean, I'm assuming the reel you saw was the one that, he told everyone, gave me this little, cross that I'm wearing right now.
Yep.
I've gone from being spiritual, really finding God and like bringing that into my life, which has been absolutely huge. About 6 months ago, dropped a bunch of weight. I was kind of playing that, slightly bigger or slightly better than average thing. I just said, you know what, screw it. I want to be a freaking beast. So I went through this, like, there's no 90% anymore. It's 100% in everything I do. So that was really big to me. But I mean, that reel alone got 500,000 views. I think it's sitting at right now. Like, you and I connected off of it. I've had a bunch of people DM me. Shoot, when I reach out to people half the time, it's like, wait, were you the guy on the reel? It just makes my life easier. So as a whole team of every one of us, all 100, and I think we're 120, 130 people now, if we're all spreading the same message, we're going to go out a lot freaking further. We're going to go out a lot further as a team. Andy couldn't have done it without the twins. He couldn't have done it without myself. He couldn't have done it without Jacqueline, because one great thing about our company is, one, we've got some loyal, we've lost some people. Don't get me wrong. We're not 100% perfect, but we've got some really loyal people. I mean, I left a job that I was getting paid. I was going to make over $500,000 when I left. My first year with the Elliott Group, I made 86K. I'm like, holy crap, this is not what I expected, but I knew what our mission was, and I knew what I wanted to do and how I wanted to be part of it. And it took me a couple of years to get back to the same income level. But for us, it was more of like an idea that we had. And I started when we were small. We had a CRM, but we didn't really use it. No systems, no processes. I think Andy had 40,000 followers on Instagram. Like, we were in such a different thing than we are now, but we've always had the same core values. Like, realistically, and most people think, oh, they want to go out and help the world and teach. No, our core value is we wanted to create a company that we could all be happy in, that we could bring our families in, that we could continue to ourselves and continue to grow others. So that's really, how do we become better? How do we become stronger so we could grow others? And the team thing for me is absolutely huge. And when you can leverage it correctly, you're going to be great. We've had some people try to leave and go do their own thing. Haven't seen any of them scale to, some of them have done really well. Don't get me wrong. None of them have scaled to anywhere close to what we are as a team.
One of the things I think people have, or at least I'll just speak for myself, I've noticed is there seems to be a big shift in the content that you all are making towards not so much away from like the sales stuff, but like more focused on faith and God, Jesus, those kinds of things. Big, huge effort has been put behind that, it looks like. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that is? I think it's fun for folks to kind of probably see a peek behind the curtain of what that looks like for everyday folks like yourself and just guys that are being successful, because not a lot of society or whatever thinks it's not cool to talk about Jesus or God. And so Andy's kind of like middle finger to that, and he'll talk about whatever he wants. And just talk to me a little bit about some of the thought process behind producing a lot of content like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the company has always been founded around God. It's always been on our core values since day one, or since I've been in the company. Pretty much everyone in the company is spiritual in some way, shape, or form. But at the same time, like, nobody's required to, be Christian. Nobody's required to be Catholic. Like, I became one of our executives in the company before I truly found, God, where I was just like, yeah, I believe in something, but I'm not really sure what it is. So we've always had that principle. And I'll be real with you, early on, we were starting off as a business. We were, hey, do you talk God? Do you talk politics? I remember this was about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years, probably about 3 years ago. The twins, had actually just signed the biggest account for automotive sales training that we've ever had. This was 30 some stores. It was a big account. And then a week later, Andy's doing some video, his shirt off, he's working out, he's talking about Jesus. And they call and they're like, hey, you guys are freaking sales trainers. Train our guys on sales. We don't want to see the fitness crap. We don't want to see the religious crap. And again, it's one of our biggest accounts. So money kind of always, is in your mind a little bit. We're still a startup company at the time. We're still trying to figure it out. And the twins are like, Andy, we've got to stop. We've got to quit doing that. And Andy said, screw it. He's like, we're not doing that. We're going to be exactly who we are. We're going to go for ultimate performance, ultimate, who you are, be the best version of yourself you can. He's like, I'm not doing it. He's like, if they want to quit, you know what? Actually refund them. We just refunded that account completely, kicked them back, said, hey, we're not changing it. And then it's just progressively got more and more. But I think it's because as us developing as a company, and I'm just going to share from personal experience right now, one of the biggest things that I found with like spirituality and a belief in God is one, you've got to go on your own journey to find God or Jesus or, whatever you want to do. It's definitely got to be a personal thing that you do. But at the same time, when you're able to get out of your own self interest and get out of your own self wants and your own self desires, that's when you can get to a new level in coaching. That's when you can get to a new level in helping people. So by having faith, it opens up your life so more. One, you're taking the stress off your back. You're really trying to focus on, hey, I'm doing this for a better cause of society. I'm doing this for a better cause of humanity. But also just the same time, having faith is everything in coaching, everything in sales. Like, you can know the word tracks, you can know what to say, you could know all the stuff. You could be the greatest with your lips. But if you truly don't believe you could do something, you can't do it. You just won't ever get there. And then man as a whole, and we all struggle with this, it's imposter syndrome or whatever you want to call it. We all believe that, we have a limitation to what we can do in life. And sometimes to break that limitation, it's got to be something bigger than you. It's got to be something bigger than who you are. And having that faith and being able to really pour into it, study it, like, and fill it on the inside. I mean, it's going to make you a better businessman. It's going to make you a better husband. It's going to make you a better father because you're not doing it for self-guided reasons. You're doing it for a bigger mission. And I never understood this, but a lot of in the religious text, it's like they say, you and your wife are trying to, live for Jesus. You're trying to live for God, kind of coming to that point. And I never really understood it until recently because my wife and I, like I said, we've been together 18 years now. We got together in high school. She was a freshman. I was a sophomore. So we did all that. But like, we got to the point where we were living like these parallel lives of we both had big dreams. We both had big goals, but we weren't coming to a common point. So there was a lot of, but I could say as a man, like, I didn't always feel appreciated and I wasn't giving her the love that she needed. And being able to come to that point with God has really brought us closer. And it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you have that in a relationship, you can also have that in a company. You can have it in an organization. You can have it in your own skills. And when you know that there is a bigger mission for you on this earth, and it's beyond the mission, it's beyond the desires that you feel as a man, you're able to take that energy and that focus and know that, hey, I'm actually here to accomplish something. I'm really here to grow. So I think just as we matured, I mean, that's just something that we grew rapidly as a company. I think we've scaled faster than any other coaching company that's ever existed. We're about the only coaching company that I know of that's got a team of 100 people. And it was always based on a spiritual belief. It was always based on we're meant to do this. We're, supposed to be here. We're here to change the world. And as we grew through it, the organic message just continued to grow. And then, yeah, Andy's really never given a crap about what he says online, what he puts out there. I mean, you saw the first time take your shirt off, that, ticked a lot of people off. It was against society. So when it went to talking more about Christianity, I think we just rolled the cameras a little bit more and said, you know what, post it. Because that's what we talk about all day. That's what really drives us every single day. So it was like, hey, we're already filming the content. Go ahead and post it. We don't have to limit it anymore. Go. And, does it hurt us financially? Absolutely. There are some big sales organizations. We are an HR nightmare because secular world, and they will not touch us because of what Andy puts on his Instagram. And it's crazy because if you get on our sales training academy, there's no religion in there. But because of what we represent online, there are certain, organizations that will not touch us because I mean, they say we're an HR nightmare, but really it's because you don't want to tell your salespeople to train on the academy and, ignore the rest of life. And I look at it this way. I've never met a single person that found God and their life got worse. Like, we don't teach anything. We're not teaching anything bad, negative. It's like, be a better husband, be the best version of yourself you can, take care of your body, take care of your family, take care of your business. Like, that's the principles that we stand behind. And whether you are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, or atheist, like, we don't care. We don't judge you. We've got multiple people with multiple religions within the company, but it's today's fun world. It's just easy to judge people online and make your own assumptions. And some people love it, some people don't. But honestly, I think as an entrepreneur of the Elliott Group, it makes my life a lot easier because the people that I don't work with typically don't reach out.
So what do you think is there's going to be a lot of folks listening to this, a lot of folks that listen into this podcast specifically are new entrepreneurs, folks that maybe want to become entrepreneurs. What's maybe a daily habit that you would recommend to somebody that could get them into a space to, be more successful in their daily life? Are there a couple of daily habits that you could think of that would be really key for them, just in general?
Yeah, people are gonna love this one. And you can believe me or not, but go to the gym in the morning. Especially if you are in a place where, and it's not just the fact that you're trying to get ripped or get a better body, it's doing what you don't want to do. Like, I'm in pretty good shape. I go to the gym every day, but when my alarm goes off at 4:30, I have to fight that every single day. I'm not a morning person. If you talk to me before 8, you're not going to get this personality. You're going to get, leave me alone. I'm in my morning routine. I want to get through my day. But what it comes down to is, being an entrepreneur, one, you have to have faith something is going to work out. You can have the greatest idea, and there's no guarantees that if you go to the market, it is going to work out. So you've got to have the faith. And then the faith becomes will be built through a lot of the discipline. So you've got to be able to teach yourself discipline, which is doing the same thing over and over again, knowing that you're going to get the results in the future. So the gym, if you are a person that struggles with discipline, the gym is a really good way to go teach yourself that. One, get yourself, get out of bed early, because all of us would rather stay cozy in our sheets than we would get out of the bed. And, shoot, you're in Alaska. It's cold as heck up there. It'd be brutal. So,
Yeah.
doing
my
that,
lake's still frozen at my house.
no, that's, yeah, no fun. I'm happy to be in Scottsdale, Arizona now. Let's just say that. So going to the gym is just doing something that you don't want to do, telling your mind that I'm in charge, and then getting there. The second thing is you start giving yourself a dopamine hit. You start giving yourself a little bit of endorphin rushes, and it just makes you feel good. And then it's also the same thing as an entrepreneurship. Like, you go to the gym, you work biceps day one. Like, you're not going to come home and look like freaking Hulk Hogan. It's going to take a while to get there. Same thing as an entrepreneur. You're not going to get on the phone and make your first sales call and land, a $1 billion deal. Most likely not. If you get lucky, by all means, awesome. But you're going to make 100 freaking phone calls. You're going to do 100 reps before you start seeing the bicep come in. It's kind of the same mindset that you've got to teach yourself to just be able to just keep going, and going with no guarantee that it's going to work, but you've got a vision. Now, the cool thing about the gym is it also eliminates you lying from yourself, because like an entrepreneur, there's no guarantees things are going to work. But in the gym, if you eat right, you do the right stuff, you're eventually going to see results. And if you're not, guess what? You're not going to get the results. So I would say like the gym, only because it's the discipline aspect, because a lot of people try to start a business or launch a clothing brand or whatever it might be based on motivation. It feels good. I think I could do this. Well, the problem is, a lot of people say motivation comes and goes. That's complete bullshit. You're 100% always motivated. When the alarm goes off at 5 a.m., you're either motivated to get out of bed and go to the gym, or you're more motivated to go to sleep. So motivation is made up. So you've got to have discipline and drive, because those are the only things that are going to continue to push you when you don't feel like showing up, when you don't feel like making the phone call, when you don't feel like, knocking on someone's door, asking if they need a new roof. Like, you've got to just have the discipline to keep going, because you've got a bigger faith. You've got a bigger dream. You've got something that you really need to tackle.
Talk to me a little bit about, let's say somebody's there and maybe they're going to the gym every day, or maybe they've, committed to reading all Grant Cardone's books or something like that. And the folks around them are like negative and they're saying, why even try? Talk to me a little bit about an advice for somebody if their family and friends don't get what they're trying to do. What should they do?
Live their life. And I mean that. And I always try to, I really like playing the mental game with things, right? I like changing the way I frame a situation. So I actually see it as a good thing, because if I've got a big dream and I've got a big goal and I've got something that I want to accomplish for my life and my family's life, like, you look at the biblical text, like, hey, when you get married, you take your wife away from her family, you leave your mom and dad, and now you guys start as one. So that's how I kind of view like my relationship with my wife. So the only person's opinion that I really, truly do care about is pretty much my wife. Other than that, I probably value a lot of opinions, but I'm not going to make any huge major decisions on life because of how you perceive me. So online, and I've had people from my military past, I've had family members, I've had friends, I've had new acquaintances, become the online haters, or you shouldn't be doing that, or you need to go back, or you're making enough money now. Why would you go? Like, I've heard it freaking all. And here's how I look at it. It makes it really, really easy for me to tell if I want you in my life or not. Because if you're not supporting me, if you don't want to see me grow, then I don't need you dragging me down. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean I'm going to initially cut you off in my life. Like, there's been a lot of people that have started like that, and then they watch the growth, they watch the patterns, they give you crap, or they tell you the struggles aren't worth it. But then all of a sudden, when things start working, they want to be back in your life. So you'll get both areas there. But realistically, what I try to focus on is, guess what? You don't feed my family. You don't freaking pay my mortgage. Like, I don't care. And if you want to go live your life that way, by all means, go do it. And if you're 100% happy living that way, I'm happy for you. I don't care. I don't think you need big success. I don't think you need billions of dollars. If you're happy, satisfied, go do it. But if there is something on like the inside of your mind that you're scratching, that maybe I should have this opportunity, maybe I should do that, I think everybody needs to go chase a dream. Not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur. Kind of like we started off this, I'm more of an intrapreneur role. I really like that role versus entrepreneur. I've tried both, like what I'm doing right now. But I do think everybody has something they want to create, something they want to contribute, something, maybe it's a promotion, maybe it's if they're in sales, they want to sell more. Like, we always have that itch. And that's the itch that you need to chase. Because the best thing about, the United States of America, I mean, unless you're in the military, you can go do whatever you want. There's very few people who are in like contracted work where they can actually go to prison if they tell someone to screw off, I quit. Now, I'm not saying go quit your jobs right away, but I'm saying if you've got something that you want to chase, what's holding you back from your freaking dream? The only thing is you and the fear of maybe what other people think. But last I checked, when you're on your deathbed, that other person isn't going to be sitting there regretting you not doing that with you. It's going to be you and your conversation with yourself that you have to have.
Do you think there's more upside in the near future for up and coming sales folks to utilize more AI stuff, or to utilize more old school sales tactics of like meeting people one-on-one and interacting with actual people? What do you think? Where do you think the upside is between those two?
I think we saw it during COVID. And I won't go conspiracy theory on you, but I think we saw it during COVID when the government told us, hey, stay 6 feet away from people, stay away from your families, this and that. And a lot of people said, screw it. I'm not doing any of that. I still want to be around people. And all of a sudden we were told, like, hey, you know how you've been dreaming for the last, 6 years about living in your basement, never having to talk to another human being in your life? We're going to make it a reality. And people said, I'm just kidding. We don't want that. We actually want community. Like, humans are communal. We like to be part of clubs. We like to be part of cliques. We like to, have our opinions and our everything that we believe in. We want it validated. That's why you have the crazy left and the crazy right and nothing in between nowadays, because we all want to be part of something. We want to feel like a team. So I think with AI, there's a couple things. One, I think it's going to be great for people who are ready for it. One, it's going to create an art boom. People are going to lose their jobs left and right, but it's going to give people the ability to go be creative, like run podcasts like this, like spread art. Like, you're not going to have to, fill out spreadsheets anymore. Like, a computer is going to do all of that for you and think through it and analyze it. So it's going to be able to give people the ability to be more themselves and be able to create and be able to show their personality. When it comes to sales, it's going to eliminate a lot of sales jobs. It will. Like, if you're a basic order taker, you can't connect with another human being, you can't have a conversation, your job's going to be eliminated. However, for the salespeople who actually enjoy sales, who actually want to get great out of it, they're going to have a really good spot, because people don't want to buy from a computer. The automotive industry has tried it a few times, and unless your name's Tesla, it just doesn't work. CarMax struggles, Carvana struggles, where they eliminated the human, because humans, just like we like to be part of a club, we like to be reassured that we're making a good decision. When you go buy a car, or your roof needs replaced, or whatever it is, you want someone there that you can trust, someone there that you can ask any question to, someone there that can provide you advice, and someone there just to reassure you that, yep, the decision you're making, is going to make you happy, is going to fulfill this for you, is going to do that for you. So I believe a good salesperson that can connect with people is actually going to have an advantage when AI takes over, because people like, I mean, how many times if you made a phone call nowadays and you go to a customer service line and you can tell it's AI and you just get fed up with it in 30 seconds?
Yeah, you just hang up.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna eliminate a lot of sales jobs, but for the people who are true salespeople and not just order takers, it's gonna give them a lot more opportunities in the future.
Yeah, I think we see this happening now with like guys and gals that are doing the door-to-door solar panel sales stuff. I mean, they're utilizing AI, because of their tablets and getting good information on what kind of doors they're knocking on, but they're actually having to go knock on the doors themselves and having to learn like how to talk to somebody. What are the things to look for? I mean, if you're right out of college, talk about a great way to make $100,000 a year. There it is.
Yeah, absolutely. But and you're completely right. Like AI, use it as a tool, but don't use it to replace what you're great at. Use it to help you with like I use AI all the time for writing captions for Instagram. I'm not a good writer. I'm not a creative guy. Like I'm more direct, bam, bam, bam. So I've built AI to help me with that. I help it edit my reels. I help it do things like that. But I'm not going to get on a phone call with someone and put some AI Zoom bot on there. And it's just, there's no personal connection there. And especially like coaching with what we do, nobody wants to be coached through a robot. So yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you're 90 years old, sipping on a Diet Coke on a beach. What are you going to look back on and think, man, I did a pretty good job? What's it going to take in your life for you to look back on and say something like that? What are your hopes and dreams for the legacy that you leave?
And I've thought about this so much. My report card is 100% my two daughters. When I'm 90 years old, doing whatever, like I want to be able to look back and know that I led in a non-hypocritical way. I showed them and others, but when it really comes down to it, they matter more to me than anybody else. But I want them to be inspired to go chase their dreams. I want them inspired to just, go find love and happiness in the world, and don't have to be a cog to society or a pawn to society, and go be able to create and live the life that you want. And I want to know, where I currently am, that I was able to inspire them to do that through their actions. I also personally, and this is, kind of a personal thing, is I want to feel that I have left my legacy on this world in a positive note, knowing that I have, excuse me, helped change people's lives. I've helped people, become happier. I've helped people sober up or mend relationships, or go, pass on or get through a negative relationship. Like whatever it is, I want to know that I was able to contribute, in some way, and know that when I leave, especially my daughters, when I leave the earth by dying, that knowing my daughters are there and have knowledge from me that, they're able to continue to pursue their dreams in every way. So, yeah.
So my last question to you is this, or second to last. How many times a year do you guys watch the movie The Goods?
I've never seen that movie. Well, I might have seen it once. I don't know. I don't really watch.
Man, you got to watch it. It's the best car salesman movie out there. It's so funny. It's got like Will Ferrell and a bunch of other folks in there.
Yeah, I haven't watched the movie in a while.
Nice.
We've watched the first 45 minutes of about 50 movies in the last couple of years.
Yeah. But for folks out there listening in, if somebody's been living under a rock, they won't know how to figure out how to find y'all. But for folks that are listening in, tell people how they can find you. Give us the details. We'll put all the links in the podcast description, but what's the easiest website to go to find you all? If, there's a team listening in, they're like, man, I want sales training from these folks, or I want to learn more about what the heck they're doing. What's the best way for them to find you?
I mean, the easiest way, if you want to find me directly, I just like to be personable. Go to my Instagram. Elite Jonathan Roberts is the handle. If you're looking for more of the Elliott Army, Elliott Group, Elliott247.com. Pretty easy. Or find Andy Elliott. I don't even need to give you his handle. It's just find him. He'll probably be the first one. A couple million followers. But yeah, other than that, that's the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you joining me. Any last minute thoughts here before we head off?
No, I appreciate your time, Jonathan. Appreciate you for bringing me on, and hopefully you stay warm up there in Alaska.
Appreciate it. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Jonathan. You're welcome back anytime. For folks listening in, I'll put all the links in the podcast description, and hope everybody has an awesome rest of the day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.